Hello everyone! Today we're gonna speak about how to teach grammar. Grammar is a system of organizing a language in complete sentences. It recognizes how words and phrases fit together to make sense and create meaning. Grammar helps us to represent the world and interact with other people through language, and it must make sense. It allows you to express yourself clearly and to fine-tune what you mean to say. Teach grammar effectively by knowing your students' needs. It is assumed that you already know the basics of teaching and learning styles. Part 1. Preparing to teach. Know who your students are. In order to teach effectively, you need to know who your students are. You should also know what they want or need to learn from you. This will affect your teaching approach as well as what you actually teach. For example, if you are teaching elementary school kids, you might focus on basic grammar rules that are easy to grasp. If you are teaching adults who are learning English as a second language, you might find these students to be older and highly motivated. They also may need immediate language skills. Understand different learning styles. People learn in different ways depending on how they process information most effectively. Think about different styles of learning as you begin to plan how to teach grammar. Some of these learning styles include visual learning. These learners prefer reading and want to see what they're learning. Auditory learning. These learners prefer to listen to instruction. Conversations and interactions are effective ways of teaching this learning style. Tactile learning. These learners prefer to touch and manipulate objects in order to learn about something. Kinesthetic learning. These learners move around a lot and benefit from getting up from a desk frequently. Part 2. Choosing a teaching approach. First, use the deductive approach if you want to explain quickly. Deductive approach of teaching grammar focuses on teaching certain grammar rules and then giving examples of that rule. It can be useful if you want to quickly explain grammar. It may be more useful with adult students. This approach can minimize student interaction and involvement. Clearly state what the rule allows and limits. Give a clear and brief explanation about what the grammar rule allows. Also, describe what the rule doesn't allow. For example, always use you were and never use you was. Then follow up with an example of the rule. Illustrate the grammar rule with an example. You can use a simple sentence to illustrate it once. Then you must choose a more complicated sentence to demonstrate how the rule applies. Describe the rules with simplicity. Boil down the grammatical rules to simple terms. Try not to point out too many exceptions to the rule when you first introduce the rule. Second, choose the inductive approach to allow students to explore language. The inductive approach allows students to discover how language and grammar works. Students learn grammar by making connections with their pre-existing understanding of language. For example, students learning English as a second language will learn to link English grammar rules to their native language grammar rules. This approach may allow for better memory retention of grammar. In addition, students are more autonomous learners. Don't choose the inductive approach if you don't have lots of time. Students need to work out a rule on their own by going through examples. Figuring out the rule may be at the expense of using the rule in practice. Give sentence examples that demonstrate differences. In order to help students pick out the rules, start with two sentences that have slightly different meanings. For example, write, I have read every Stephen King book, and I read Stephen King's latest book last week. Ask the student to identify the difference between these two sentences. Third, teach grammar through texts, stories, and songs. Use examples of literature and popular writing to illustrate how grammar is used. This can be an effective way to teach grammar. Students can choose their own texts or stories that they like to use. This will make the lesson more interesting for the students. Students will also benefit from increased vocabulary. The texts can be difficult, they are too advanced for the student's language level. Part 3. Teaching effectively. Use examples to teach grammar. Take examples from sentences so that they make sense to the student. It is helpful to see how grammar rules are put into practice in different types of conversations or writings. Give students plenty of time to practice. Reinforce your lesson by giving the students lots of time to put their grammar knowledge to use. The point of learning grammar is to improve communication skills. Give your students the opportunity to practice frequently. Plan games and interesting activities. Grammar can be a dry subject if the teacher doesn't engage the students effectively. Play games, plan conversation scenarios, and do other activities that are appropriate and fun for the students. Correct students in a positive way. Do not discourage your students by correcting their grammar in a way that reduces their desire to speak. Instead, correct errors by continuing the conversation and asking questions using the correct grammar. For example, your student says, "I catched the ball." Don't respond with, "You mean you caught the ball?" Instead, say, "You caught the ball. Did you score a point?" Continue the conversation with a gentle correction and an added question or comment. Thank you for your attention. Stay healthy and positive. See you. Bye bye.